See my shirt. Hi everyone, my name is Nikki Haverstock. I'm a self-published author with 14 cozy mysteries up on Amazon in the contemporary, paranormal, and science fiction subgenres. So this is a topic that the viewers actually picked, but I waited until now to do it because I met with my writing coach yesterday. And so I am kind of making the video for you, but also for me. So the original kind of pitch for this video was how to do more writing for slow writers. And I might still put that in the title because it's clicky. But the truth is, I'm not going to call myself a slow writer anymore. I'm going to call myself a thinking writer. That's not to say that people who write fast aren't thinking, but everybody deserves to use titles to describe themselves that are positive. Got that from Atomic Habits, and how we talk about ourselves affects how we think of ourselves. And when I call myself a slow writer, that's a place of judgment. I'm saying that I don't think that I'm doing things at the speed I should be doing them. But that's just not the case. This is how I produce my best work. And your goal is to produce your best work. Some people are all about instinct. They sit down, they turn on the faucet, it's go, 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 go. Their ideas come, and these are the best ideas they're going to have, and no amount of thinking is going to really change it. So they might as well get it down and keep going, and maybe get into rewrites and get everything out and see what they have and rearrange and all that. And some people, like me, are thinking writers. I need probably, right now I'm just guessing at a number, but I kind of think I need about 2 hours of thinking for every 1 hour of writing. And my best work and a lot of my best features comes from this lots and lots of thinking. Okay, so for me, I decided to do this video because a lot of videos I've read and books and such are sort of like if a bird was giving a turtle flight advice. And the idea is that they are a different kind of writer than me. And so all of their advice, like I heard one who said, write more. I just turned off Facebook and I wrote twice as much. And I was like, well, I wish it was that easy for me. So these are suggestions for people. And this is not good or bad. This is not if you're a good writer or a bad writer. It's just if you're the kind of writer I am. And I hope on this channel you never feel like I'm saying, do things my way if you're a good writer. Or that real writers do this. And if I ever say something like that, because we all have habits and things that sneak out that we're trying to get rid of, just call me on it, okay? Because that's not my intention. So some of these might work for fast writers, people who are already fast writers. But a lot of these points have to do with people who require a lot of thinking to do their work, whether that is before the project for plotting or during the project. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive in. The first one is that when you sit down to write, try to make sure that your needs have been met. What I mean is that you've eaten. For me, I'm not going to give you a bunch of nutritional advice and carry on maybe potentially bad information or harmful. But for me, that means protein and fat, something that's going to make me feel full so I'm not getting up every 5 minutes under the excuse that just a little bit more food will help. So make sure your needs are met, make sure you have water. I usually keep water not by my computer over here. So I know my precious books, but I don't want to ruin my computer. So make sure that you have a comfortable place to sit, that I pointed to a corner so it's not backlit. I used to sit somewhere where the sun was in front of me and I was squinting, or the sun was behind me and reflected. In this particular case, this looks like I've got this great office. It is a very small corner in a guest room. So all of that out there is bed, comforter, this, that, all that kind of stuff. But I got it. My husband got me this tiny little corner desk that we can put in a room with a lock on it. So I can close a door when my toddler's downstairs screaming. So make sure that your needs are met when you sit down to write. The second one, and I pulled this one out because I want to talk about sleep. You will read and you will probably hear over the course of your career, people say things, and I've already gone over this. If you are really determined, you will get up an hour early and write, or you will write when everyone goes to bed. I pulled this out because I'm not going to give you that advice. I'm going to say when it comes to sleep, this is something you need to evaluate for yourself. I've read a lot of books that insist you get up early. And one of the books, one of my biggest pet peeves, is that the author talked about doing this. I got up early because I was serious. He mentioned elsewhere that he had 2 young kids, so I was like, oh yeah, so the real serious one here is your wife who's caring for these kids and raising them. And a lot of people, that comes from a place of privilege, or you know, if you have any sort of chronic disease, or it could be mental health problems or something, your sleep is incredibly important. I believe that's true for everyone. So I'm going to have you, the idea that, oh, if you really want it, you'll skip sleep. I'm going to actually tell you to reconsider that. There's been studies that have shown that when you are chronically fatigued, and I don't mean the disease, I mean just you're getting 3 hours of sleep a night, you are not producing your best work. So that is something that's always guided me. I've always protected my sleep as a writer. And that, so that is important to me. So when it comes to sleep, I actually lean toward saying make sure you have enough sleep, as opposed to cannibalize your sleep so that you can write. I don't know that that works. If it works for you, I always support your decision. But please be careful. I have a author friend on my Facebook list whose doctor told her for years that she had high blood pressure, she needed to relax, she needed to stop pushing, and she said no. And she had a heart attack. She actually had a heart attack on the way to vacation, and it really affected her. And so that's no joke. Okay, so please take that seriously. When you sit down to write, there's something you can do called grounding. A lot of people do this. It's like a ritual that you can do that gets your mind in the right spot. So I think I've mentioned it before, but I don't mention it very often. I have a master's degree in sports psychology, and we do a lot with rituals. You'll see basketball players doing the free throw line, dribble, 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 dribble. And what they're doing is they're doing a ritual to get their head in the right spot. You'll see the same thing with pitchers. You'll see tennis players, you know, bounce, 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 you know, whatever. So you'll see this ritual that's done a lot of times. The golfer with a practice swing, do it for your writing, okay? So that might be that you always have a mug. As I demonstrate, if you've watched my videos, you know I wear graphic t-shirts. I buy t-shirts. Like when I did my science fiction book, I went and bought a bunch of science fiction t-shirts. I've shown a few of them on the videos. I did that so that when I put on that shirt, I felt like a writer. Okay, so I actually encourage you to do that. Whatever you can do to get your head in the right spot. And you might be like, yeah, but that doesn't actually help me write. It's just all head games. Everything's a head game. Life is a head game. Writing is a head game. It all happens in your head. So whatever you can do to get you there. So if you've been saving that journal, go ahead and use it. Use that fancy pen. Wear your goofiest, funnest, you know, shirts. I've wore writing earrings. I've put on writing special like jewelry, like I'm gonna write, look at me go. You can have your special mug you always do, your special corner, your special whatever it is, but grounding is this way. I think that's what she called it. But anyway, it's this idea of you have a ritual, something that you do that helps you get into it. A lot of people insist on a schedule. I don't insist on a schedule, and a whole lot right now because it's quarantine, everything's up in the air, my toddler wakes up whenever. I can't wake up, I mentioned in the last point, I can't wake up early because the second I hit the ground, my entire house erupts, and dogs and babies and husbands and all this kind of stuff. So these are ways to maybe kind of replicate that. Okay, so those are all something that could that can kind of apply to anyone. We're moving in closer and closer. Social media. This is when you're on your computer, there's two draws of social media. One is when you actively say, just 1 second, I'll just look for one more second, with the belief that you'll sometimes satisfy an urge, and you won't. They're multi-million, billion-dollar businesses that have teams of psychologists to figure out how to hook you in. Okay, you're not going to beat them. So you are not, as my friend Becca Syme, who has a channel here, who I referenced as my writing coach already, scroll control. You have it, you can do it, you can stop. But it's not just the deliberate decision, it's also the habit loop. You feel uncomfortable. Before you know it, you click, 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 Facebook is open. Oh no, what happened? Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is. YouTube, sorry. It's true. So I personally bought a lifetime subscription to Freedom, and I will turn it on so that I can't navigate to it on accident, which does happen. You know, people go, oh, that's ridiculous. You decide to. No, it's a habit loop. It's the same way our power went out 2 days ago. Every time we entered a room, we flipped the light switch. We knew power was out. And every single time it was a shock. Every single time, oh, that's right, power's off. Nope, that power's still off. We did it over and over again. It's a habit loop. Okay. Next thing up is I want you to work on a brainstorming ritual. I want you to find things to do so that when you get to the point where you say, my heroine is going to have to reveal something that drives a wedge between her and the hero, and you don't know what it is. It could be I need to find a clue. If you go and you look at my video, how I outline space murder, I went through step by step how I did this, and one of the things I said is that I will have scenes written up that say they go someplace and find a clue. I start writing, at some point I get there and I go, I don't know what the clue is. So you need to develop something that happens that that helps your brain work. Agatha Christie said that the best place to write a book is in front of a sink full of dirty dishes. David Baldacci in his masterclass talked about the fact that he showers. That's where he goes to get ideas, and that when he's on deadline, he's the cleanest man on earth. You need to figure out what your thing is. My suggestions would be something that you are physically moving your body. You're away from the computer, so you're not just staring at a blank screen. You're doing something that physically moves your body, and you do not have your phone, your headphones, anything like that. The goal is to get your mind so bored that it starts making connections that you can't make when you're actively thinking about it. I will tell you that if you are a young parent, a parent of a young child, I wrote so many books pushing my son in a stroller. And I joke that when I have writer's block, which is just a fancy way of saying that there's something unknown I need to figure out before I can keep writing, I was up to walking like 7 or 8 miles a day. And that's absolutely true. I would go and I would just put him in the stroller because it was someplace happy, got him out in the sun, got me out in the sun. I would recommend something like walk the dogs, walk the baby, walk around the neighborhood. One, because our health needs it. We're sitting in front of a computer all the time. The entire nation, even non-writers, are sitting too much. So physical activity is good. There's a lot of evidence that even a 15-minute walk improves the creativity in the brain. It activates the brain so your brain functions better. And the other thing is, I think there is some benefit to getting like the farthest point out, to think you have it, and then you have to come home. So that's even more time. And don't bring your phone, you know, if you can get away with it. I know that that's not reasonable for people who are caretakers or who could possibly have health issues. I understand that. But maybe put it on silent. Do what you can so that you are not stopping and checking Facebook, okay? Whatever needs to be done. Okay, so that is to cultivate a brainstorming solo process, okay? Another is to do a brainstorming collaborative process. And this is sometimes good. Certain people, certain types of people need to talk to articulate even what they're trying to do. Not everybody can, but I use a couple of different things. Sometimes it's not about someone giving you the answer. Sometimes it's just about eliminating options. So like, let's use our example of your main character needs to reveal something to the other main character, to the hero, that's going to drive a wedge between them. Talking with someone, they might say, well, is it something to do with their family? No, it's not their family. Well, what about her job? No, it's not her job. Is it her past? And you go, I don't know. But now you've eliminated, so if there's like 360 degrees, we've eliminated some. It's not her family. It's not her job. Maybe it's something in her past. Maybe it ends up turning out that it's something that happened during school or on a vacation, or maybe it's a past relationship. You don't know, but now you've narrowed down and you've given your solo brainstorming some direction. So in my personal life, I have a couple people I can go to. One is my husband, and he's a great option because he is at home. He takes care of our son while I write. And so he is almost always on call, so I can go and talk to him. And like I said, he doesn't have to even know anything. He can give me bad suggestions, and it just helps me. A lot of times he doesn't give me anything. And we all have been there where you just need to talk at someone, because up here it's all brain and concept and ideas, and writing is about putting it into words. And sometimes the process of talking it helps. Another option is what I call brain dump, which is just you sit down at the computer and you just start writing. If you have read The Artist's Way, which I talked about in one of my most recent videos about I think 5+ books that'll help you write that aren't craft books. They talk about morning pages. And that's just where it's just free train of thought. It can be about anything. And so I started doing those. And that helps. That's just everything you know about the story. And sometimes things come out that you knew, but you didn't know you knew, but now now that you've said it or typed it, you can feel a connection. And then I do work with a development editor, and sometimes I'll write her stuff and be like, I'm thinking about this, but I don't know about that, all that kind of thing, or other writers. So figure out, another method is clustering, where you just say, what are 10 potential things that could drive this couple apart? And you just do them as fast as possible. And the goal isn't even so much with any of these that you solve the problem right now, as it is you give fuel to your brain. Sometimes you will. Sometimes as soon as you start talking, I will often do this. Yeah, well, it can't be this, but it can't. I mean, I guess. And then I'll just go quiet. My husband's like, what? I'm like, shh. And because like the pieces are slipping together. So that is another one. And sometimes you've tried one, you tried the other. The confusing part is that nobody tells you what you should be doing. You figure it out over time. So another option is write up as far as you can see. This is something that I do, and this is at least, I will try to go to the very sentence that I don't know. And I will try to write. A lot of times you can get 500, 1,000, 5,000 sometimes words before you get to that unknown. But you feel like I can't write until I know what that unknown is. Like I had one where the students kill their coach, but I don't know why. But I said, okay, I'll write up as far as I can see. I have a little note there that says write as far as you can see. And I got 800 words before I actually hit the part where I said something like, there was a boy in a cowboy hat, and he said, and I was like, well, that's 800 more words than I had before. So write as far as you can see. A lot of times as you get closer to the unknown that is holding you back, that you don't know, sometimes it'll come to you ahead of time. Sometimes it won't. There's a lot of times I'll know three scenes, which for me is like 6,000 words, but I don't know what happens when I get there, and it's fear and anxiety that's keeping me from doing it. So write as far as you can see is another one. Maybe you tried that. You've gone on a million walks. You don't know what happens next. You've talked to other people. It's getting closer, but it's not there. You've written as far as you can see. One of the tricks that someone told me is that when you can tell when you're overthinking it, if you have two options and you just can't decide and you're not making any further progress, then maybe just write one. I personally, a lot of times people will say that a lot of times when I say, like, I have an idea and I just don't know if it'll work, but I keep coming back to the idea, but I don't know if it'll work. So I'm waiting to find out. For me, it's time to write it. If there is no new information coming in, it's time for me to write it. Some people will say just skip over it and come back to it. That works for some authors, for some it doesn't. I can't skip over it because for me it's like a time jump. My brain doesn't understand it. If I can get down the unknown to a shape and a size I understand, then I can maybe skip over it, but I don't write out of order or anything like that. But that is definitely a legitimate thing. If it works for you, you can write out the scene one way and the other and see which one's better. You can skip over it. Sometimes that doesn't really work for me. I'm having a hard time even explaining it because it just doesn't work for my brain. But let's say you tried all those, none of those work. Sometimes it's time to just go refill the well. Go watch a TV show, go read a book. I'm not saying read a book looking for the answer, TV show. Sometimes you just need to form energy. Sleep, spend time with friends, go out for a date night. Sometimes the best thing you can do to write more words is to make sure that your needs are being met. It's a super, super common cycle that you will hear from writers who say things like, I'm not getting my words in, so I'm going to skip girls' night this week. I had a date this weekend, but I'm going to cancel because I'm not writing. And then the more stuff they cancel, the less energy and creativity they have to write, and you're cruising for burnout. These are things that give you the energy and give you the insight. Maybe at the girls' night out, someone goes, oh, you won't believe what my boyfriend told me. Maybe that's your answer. Maybe that's what was been waiting to hear. You'll hear a lot of people who go on vacation and come back and are super productive because all they've done is just take in dialogue and things like that. I always write books, write my archery series after I go to an archery event. Okay, so, and the last one is, if you're saying I want to write more and I want to write faster and I want to write more. The last one is not really a suggestion, but is a question. Question the premise. Do you really need to? Is there anything wrong with your method? Now, everybody says the more books you have, the more backlists and all that. But let's say, let's say your breakout book is going to take you 6 months to write. Maybe your breakout book is going to take you a year to write. Maybe that is meant to be your Harry Potter, your Twilight, your 50 Shades of Grey, whatever it is that you know, your Game of Thrones, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Maybe it's meant to take a year. And maybe all you're doing by shoving words as fast as you can that make no sense is working against yourself and undercutting yourself. I'm not saying that's true. I'm not saying that's false. All I'm saying is at some point it is worth evaluating if your current method is actually working for you and all you're doing is taking guilt and anxiety and negative feelings on top of it and making yourself feel worse because everybody swears if you just read this book, you can write 5,000 words a day, an hour, a minute, whatever. There's nothing wrong with being a fast writer. There are many excellent fast writers. God bless them. I'm not one of them. I'm one that needs a lot of thinking time, and I am working. There's not a day that passes that I wish I couldn't do it all faster, but I'm trying to accept that my best work might be at a slower pace. So I hope that one of those helps you, and I wish you all the best.